If I could go back and tell myself, what would I need to know to become a successful software engineer? It would be Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph Frazier. I'm a software developer as well as a bootcamp instructor. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about 5 things I wish I knew before I became a software engineer, so that hopefully you, as a new engineer or a bootcamp grad, or maybe even a college grad, maybe you can take these tips and become a more successful engineer when you get your first job. So you're a new developer at your first job. Congratulations! Like it's an awesome feeling to start to actually work for a real company, and you're going to start implementing software that's going to be used by either clients around the world or maybe internal clients that are specific to your company. And you are coming in on your first day, and you're kind of thinking like, what are things that I need to know in order to succeed and do well at my job? And these are things I wish someone else had kind of taught me or told me when I entered in my first job as a software engineer. A lot of this information definitely was still there, but maybe it wasn't as easily accessible or easily known for me to like look at and search. So I kind of want to give you guys this information, and I hope that you take it and you use it and you benefit from it, and that it helps you to grow as a software engineer. But like one of the things that I've noticed a lot of times that developers do, whether junior or maybe even more mid-level, one of the things that I noticed that they do is they will suffer through a problem and take way too much time doing it. And let me kind of explain what that means. So like, let's say, for example, you're given this ticket or this task, and it's to say, hey, we found a bug for maybe like logging in as a user in this region. So can you go ahead and kind of like go through the code and figure out what's going on? And typically what a newer developer does is like, they're super excited. Like, oh yes, I need to go ahead and log in here and work through this one. I need to hit the ground running and, you know, really go at this one. And as they're going through the code and they're testing stuff and they're going through different pieces of it, they hit a wall and they hit a problem, and then they try all of the solutions that they can think of. And the next thing you know, maybe 3 hours has passed, or 2 hours has passed, or maybe like a few days has passed. And they don't want to kind of like feel like they failed. But at the same time, what they are losing is like time, essentially, that they could be spending on other tickets, maybe assisting other teammates, or maybe this bug is not really that big of a deal. It is a ticket, it is a thing we need to do, but it's not like one that should spend 6, 7, 8 hours on. It's a low point ticket, if you want to say. And you don't want to suffer in silence. Like if you run into a problem, it's okay. Work through the problem. That's how you grow. That's how you know you encountered something that you didn't know how to fix or figure out the first time. But like if it's taking you forever and you're not utilizing any resources for that, that's actually holding you back. So one of the things I would always suggest to junior developers, new college grads, or even the other developers who've just been in the business for a while, but you have never really had to implement this, is that as you're going through a problem, take what you would consider a reasonable amount of time to do a task. That reasonable amount of time might vary depending on what the problem is, what the bug might be needing to be fixed, or maybe like the point of the ticket. But then make sure to have like a backup plan. Like after you go through all of your solutions, like where are you going to ask for help? There are other people out there who have probably been in your shoes already, or they've probably worked on tickets similar or harder, more difficult, and they could probably assist you and help you. So they are ready and willing to help out. But the problem is you're scared to admit defeat. And I want to go ahead and encourage you right now, like, don't be scared. It's not you failing, it's you learning. This is the time for you to learn and grow as a developer and continue to move forward rather than being bogged down from this one problem. So don't suffer in silence and spend too much time on a problem, which leads me into my next point, asking good questions. Okay, so let me go ahead and kind of like give you an example that I've had when I was working with other junior devs. So I was working on a feature set for one of the projects that I was on, and I had a junior developer come to me and they said, hey, I'm trying to do XYZ and it's not working. What's wrong? Okay, so they have come to the point where they've reached failure. They don't know what else they need to do or what other thing they need to work on to get it working, and they've come to a more experienced person. But the problem is, I'm trying to do XYZ and it's not working. What do? That doesn't really give me any information. Like, I kind of understand you're trying to do this thing, but what have you tried? right? So like, did you test any of the code that was in another function? Did you look at this other file that has something similar to that one? Do you have the wrong credentials? Is your env environment set up incorrectly? Are you hitting the right database, right? Like those kind of things, like that kind of stuff really matters. So if you phrase a question where you're not enabling a more experienced developer to help and assist you, you're wasting a lot of the time for both you and that developer to kind of actually figure out what the core issue is. So a way I would rephrase that question would be something like this. Hey, I'm trying to do XYZ feature. It needs me to be able to do maybe this post request or this get request or something like that. When I try to run a function using this method or this code, I'm getting an error that says this. I'm not sure what this is. Can you assist and help me figure out what that is? So right there, we're providing the more experienced developer kind of like our steps, our problem solving, what we have done to try to fix the problem or to address the problem. And they can kind of see what we've already tried. From that, they can immediately say, okay, they're trying to maybe hit this database and they're using this credentials. Well, I know that database is only for tests, or maybe I know that that database is something that we use or is stale data. And so what they're trying to find is no longer there. And we can kind of just go ahead and take that, and we're more enabled to give you a better enabling question for yourself to fix the issue. And sometimes like that is the difference between spending 2, 3, 4 hours, a bunch of Slack messages, a bunch of team meetings, a bunch of Zoom calls towards other developers. Sometimes we're saving them all that time and they know the solution already right away, or they can say, oh yeah, it's a simple fix, here, refer to this file, or go ask this person. So asking good questions is such a great practice that you should do as a new developer in any company that you work for. So now you're going through, you're asking good questions, you're enabling the person that you're asking these questions to. You've come to the point where you're like, hey, I don't know what I need to do and I need to spend more time working on the actual ticket. So you're reaching out and you're learning all of this new stuff and you're fixing the problem that you first encountered. So that leads me to my next part, is that I would recommend that now from then on you be extremely thorough with the code that you're either testing, the questions that you're asking, or the files that you're going through. Let me explain. So like, for example, you are going through a file that was maybe written by someone else who maybe is no longer with the company. Okay, so as you're going through this file, you're kind of like looking at the code, you're understanding it, you're seeing where it plays a part in this whole entire application. And you're about to make an assumption of like, hey, okay, so I think this file is doing this, okay? And then you go right away and start testing it, okay? But you only test it maybe one time. You assume like, okay, that's it, that's all I need to do, and boom, hit send, submit your pull request. Well, that's actually not the best way to do that. Like testing it one time is a good thing. I would say you definitely want to test your code at least once. However, you want to be extremely thorough. Are you testing that code based off of only what you know? Are you testing that code based off of the standards that other people have written in previous files or other parts of your project? Are you making too many assumptions without actually going through and testing those assumptions? Are you testing this like a software engineer, or are you testing this as a user? Okay, big difference, right? So like going through there and being very thorough before you make certain assumptions, or you submit a pull request, or you go ahead and ship a feature, being very, very thorough will actually be like so beneficial for you as a new developer in a company, because that can kind of give other developers, more senior developers, that can kind of give them this kind of like trust in you. Like, oh, I know that if I give them this task, they will be thorough enough to go through the other parts of it that I might not have to specify extremely clear, right? Like maybe they say like, you're going to create this new feature set so that it'll allow our users to log in with their Google account, right? And as they give you that one, they understand that you're going to go through that and get that base functionality working, but you're also maybe going to write clear documentation. You're going to verify and check other pieces of code or ask more questions to kind of get a better understanding of what's going to be needed to complete this task. So being very thorough with your code goes such a long way as a new developer, and it gives other developers kind of like the sense that we can trust them, they know what they're doing. And which leads to the last point. The last point that I would say is that as a new developer, you're going to have a lot of like things inside of you that might make you feel like you are not, You're not going to be able to do everything like these senior developers or mid-level developers are going to do, but you need to learn to be self-sufficient. So let me explain what I mean by self-sufficient, okay? So a self-sufficient developer is a developer that can kind of take a task that they're given, ask the questions, and make a thorough assumption of what they need to do in order to complete that task. They know the resources that they can reach out to. They know how to Google things. They know how to read documentation. They know how to go to different files or different projects and kind of like get the information they need to know. And they can work without having to kind of like have their hand held. Right? So that would be like a more thorough developer. But as a new engineer, maybe as a new grad, or maybe you came from a boot camp and you come from a different industry completely, right? Like being self-sufficient doesn't mean you don't ask questions. It means you don't need someone to have to babysit you to do every single one of your tasks or every single one of your tickets. And that really just gives you, one, a platform to build yourself up, to make yourself like a great resource, a very powerful asset for your company to use and for other developers to reference. But it also gives us the ability to give more work or to give more of the load that the other team members might have to you. And we know that you can do it without having to have your hand held so much. And that really just enables a lot of people to just be more efficient with the job that they have to do. You know, you're working on a team. Other people have stuff that they have to do. Other people have other tasks that they need to complete. And if we have to babysit a junior developer, it really can kind of like drain us, but at the same time, it takes away from the stuff that we need to do, but we want to help that person out as well. And the last thing, and probably most important thing that I would say that any new developer needs to keep in mind is give yourself some grace. Okay. So like, remember, it's your first job, right? This is your first job out in the real world. You're a junior developer. You're going to be in a project that you have no idea who created what, or where certain files might be located at, or how complex certain things might be. And that's okay. Like, that's totally fine. You have a team, you have other developers who are hopefully wanting to mentor you and kind of want to see you succeed. The whole point of being on a team is to enable all the other teammates to do the tasks that they have been assigned so that we can complete the job and deliver the project that we know we need to deliver. So give yourself some grace here. It's a learning time. Don't feel too harsh on yourself, and just understand that, you know, with time comes a lot of experience. With experience comes a lot of learning. With a lot of learning comes a lot of growing yourself. And there you go. That wraps up about 5 things I wish I had known when I first became a software developer. I hope you take this information and enable yourself to become an even better software developer. If you find this kind of information helpful, I would love it if you could subscribe. I try to make this content as often as I can. I would love to know any topics that would interest you or you feel like you would like to know on your journey as a software developer. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe this video. See you in the next one.